What's up, yo? You know what that music means. It's time for the Big Bear Joe radio show and the Women Who Rock, and I'm your host, Joey Powell. Today's very special guest is Miss Celine Kassem. She's the digital and social media coordinator for the Syrian Emergency Task Force. She was in town this week giving a lecture on the crisis that's still going on in Syria, that's been going on for the last 13 years, trying to increase awareness and educate people to the atrocities that's going on in the country. I encourage you to listen to this interview until the conclusion, and we're going to go right into it. Thank you very much. I want you to kind of give an overall, I wouldn't say synopsis, but let's give an overall description of why you're here on this campus the last couple of days. You flew in specifically to meet with students, to educate students and faculty and staff and everyone else who's been involved, and you've done an excellent job of that. So I just told you, I admire you quite a bit right now.
Oh my God.
Because I don't believe I could be doing what you're doing right now. So
that means so much. Thank you.
yeah.
But yeah, we're here because we have a community here in Arkansas that has supported the Syrian people for years. And that is because, parts of our organization, we're alumni here, and they've created grassroots of a community here in Arkansas and here at UCA. And it's kind of like a rite of passage that all of our team members end up having to come to Arkansas to do these things and to come here to all the events, to come to all the educational aspects of it all, and talk about Syria. Because it has been kind of on the back burner. It has been off the heads of not just people, but policymakers, agendas, interests, foreign, it's everything. It has been on the back burner. And it's been so long, it's been 13 years. So again, it's just been, the next conflict and the next conflict and the next conflict. So what we try to do is we come to university campuses, and here is one of our strongest community members and our first ever university chapter. We come because I think we believe in the generation that is coming up, and how, I think that we are recognizing, as my generation, we are recognizing the injustices. We're recognizing the pain and the oppression and the agony that people live through here in the U.S. or across the world. We don't have the excuse anymore of not knowing because of our fingertips, our phones that are literally glued to our fingertips. We get to see oppression live on our phones. We get to see bombardment live on our phones. And back in the day, people had that excuse of, oh, I don't really know what's going on, or, oh, it's difficult, or it's complicated, or I don't understand it fully. But right now, it's right here. You're seeing it, and it's not complicated. It's kids getting bombed. It's kids starving to death. It's kids not having anyone to support them, losing their family, losing their loved ones, losing their homes. So we don't have that excuse anymore. And I think that if there was any change to take place, it's going to have to be this generation. It's going to have to be this generation that's going to replace people in policy-making places. Even if we're not there right now, we can impact them, and we can call, and we can let them know that we don't agree with what you're saying here. We don't agree with your policy on this. We think you should be pushing more on this, on that. Because whether people recognize it here or not, the privileges that you have of a democracy, even if some might think that it's not 100% of a democracy, but in the US it is a democracy compared to other nations around the world, like Syria. But you have that privilege, and you have those tools and resources to be able to call up the people that represent you in a democratic state that contains people that represent you and your voice. So you call them up and you tell them that this is what I believe, and this is not what you're doing. And I believe that what you're doing could be done better. And I stand for these people not because, of something specific, or because my interests, or I'm getting paid to lobby for this or do for that. But I'm standing for these people because they're also human. They deserve a chance at life. They deserve to have the basic human rights that we have all over the world, and that we are so privileged to have. Then I think that we do need to wake up to that and use our resources and our privileges.
Well, in the Declaration of Independence, it specifically says inalienable rights. And that's what all human beings should have, right? We all should have we just for being born into this world should have the right to not be harmed, to not lose our lives, to live in peace, right? We're not. You're not asking that there's a Shangri-La, that there's going to just be just this, no, utopia, no, just back to a normalcy. And what it is you talk about 13 years. You've got freshmen on this campus that were in kindergarten when this first started happening, right?
Yeah.
So if you're not coming and speaking about it, they don't know, because it's like you said, it's something that's happened and it went on to the next thing. The next year it was something else. 6 months later it was something else. It was something else, and it's forgotten about. And it's like, there's a wound there. There's, you broke your leg, but you never went to the doctor. That broke leg is still broke.
It's still there.
Yeah. So that's what's the importance of what you're doing right now, is bringing that back up into light. And I saw it in a lot of the students' faces who were like, oh, I didn't really realize this. And it's not that they're doing this on purpose, not that they're purposely looking away. Again, there's other things that distract, there's other things that come up, and you have to keep going and saying, listen, it's still there. It's still there. Don't forget these people.
And I don't blame people for not knowing, because to a certain degree, I blame the system that does not bring it up and does not, bring awareness, and the media and the narrative that was stolen from us by this Russian propaganda machine. So it's not people's fault not knowing, and I don't think that people should have like a guilt of not knowing. But also, I think that once you know, you have a duty, a humanitarian duty on yourself to be able to either let other people know, do something about it, whether it's for Syria, whether it's for any other cause that you believe in, that you see as unjust, that you see as oppressing people, that you see is not right. So it's your duty to step up and to say that, oh my God, yeah, maybe I didn't know about this a couple months ago, but now I do know. And now people around the world look up to the U.S. as in a place that, you guys have freedom to a certain degree. And when things like what happened in Syria took place, we wanted you guys to know, because we believed that maybe if some people around the world that do believe in freedom and democracy and living a basic, democratic life, if you guys believe that and you see the oppression and the pain inflicted on us, then you'd be like, oh, I recognize that oppression because I have that freedom and I have that. So if I'm able to stand with these people because of what they want, then that's the noble thing. That's the right thing to be doing for your dignity and for yourself before anyone else.
Right. Well, there's this thing that happens when there's atrocities around the world, is there's this shock thing that happens when you first hear about it, because you see the images, right? And there's this, everybody's taken aback, and there's this, at first they feel powerless. Their heart goes out, because it's human nature. For the most part, people are good, innately good. People are innately caring for the most part. Their heart goes out. But then they have this thing of, okay, what can I do? And then again, it feels like it's so overwhelming. It feels like it's something larger than themselves. And it is. But again, time goes on and it gets forgotten and other stuff comes up. And what you're doing is, and this is what you have to do in any of these situations, you're putting a face with a cause. When people can say, oh, I understand because now I've met somebody that actually has been there and is telling me these stories of things, right? It's been personalized to them, right? So that's how all of a sudden you wake people up a little bit more. And again, when people feel powerless, what you said is perfect. We live in a democracy. You're not powerless. You know what I mean? We all have the power of one vote.
Right.
And the group that is the most the group that's not tapped into the most is the group that's on this campus. College-age students are the ones that vote the least out of all the demographics, right? So, and when they say, well, what am I supposed to do? Yeah, when they say, especially when there's people around the world who fight for the power of the vote, people that die and fight every single day just to get a legal vote, and we in this country take that for granted. And again, the power of the 18 to 24, 25-year-olds, that they have all the power if they could just use it. So because again, it doesn't take a monumental effort.
No, it
You
doesn't.
don't.
And it's so simple for you to come out and to see these people that are running, and for you to understand, okay, this is bad. This is kind of good. This is worse, and for you to choose whoever you think is the least worst, and go ahead with them, because you have that right. People all around the world. I'm not just talking about Syria, but people all around the world, even if they do, have a voting in parentheses kind of mechanism or whatever, it's not true. It's not real.
Right.
They either kill other people that are running. They either manipulate voting tactics. In Syria, you were forced there's buses that come to school that pick you up and take you to the polling station, and there's no one else for you to vote for except for that Bashar Assad.
Right.
And there are photos of people voting with their blood. There are photos of the amount of brainwashing that dictatorship and authoritarian states do to their people and inflict through culture, through education, through various aspects of civil society onto their people is insane. Because they believe that this guy is like a god to us, and he's got our back, and we're fighting terrorists, and we're fighting this, and so they genuinely start believing that, and then they go and they vote with their blood to this dictator because they believe what they're doing. So when you look at the reality in other places and you compare it to yours, and you're like, yep, maybe no, I should be doing this, and I should be voting, and I should be going out there and protesting for what I believe in, for what I think is right, for what my country should be doing better. I got the Canadian citizenship 2 years ago. My first time ever voting in municipal elections was the coolest thing ever, because I know that my grandfather and my father and my mother and all my grandparents and my whole family never got to do that in Syria.
Right.
It was the coolest thing ever. I was the happiest person ever to go there and to vote for the Liberal Party constituent in Ontario, where I lived in Canada. It was such a cool experience. And my father was able to get Turkish citizenship, and again, he voted in the presidential election in Turkey last year. He was so excited. He was so excited. I'd never seen him more excited before, because this is something that was not allowed to us in Syria. And then when we sought refuge in different places, and when we were able to get citizenship thanks to all these countries that did give us this opportunity, but being able to do it and having that privilege just felt so good, and felt like my voice matters, and I'm able to do this. So I think this should inspire Americans to include themselves in voting, and to include themselves in the democratic system that is here. And I studied politics, and I did delve into American politics, and maybe there is some kind of complaints about not being 100% of a democracy, and there's certain things that influence different things, but it is the closest thing that you can get to a democracy, I believe. And we have the voice, and we have the ability to go out and to protest. So I think that's beautiful, and I think that people should be doing that because they have the ability to do so.
I tell fellow students all the time, and again, this is not a knock on anybody of any age group in this country. We've all grown up with a democracy, right? We take that for granted, the same as we take for granted that we can open our taps and get clean water. You know what I mean? That we can, there's a fast food place or a restaurant place or a place to get fuel on every corner. We take those kind of things for granted, right? Well, there's parts of the world that doesn't have that, right? I tell people all the time, democracies are fragile. The United States is held together by a piece of paper and a promise. That's all it's held together by. And if citizens don't participate in it, that's what's going to have it collapse, right?
Yeah.
Again, it's the power of the people. That's why this whole system was set up.
Yeah.
That's why the founding fathers were called enlightened, because they could have took all the power and they didn't. They gave the power to the people. So if you're not using that power for doing good things, the United States is in a situation where we're the most powerful country in the world, the most financially stable country in the world. We lead and other people follow. So if you have all of those things, why not lead people to things that are a better life for them and use that influence and power that you have? And I think one of the most important things you did last night when you talked was, and it's something that I wish other people would do, is you showed a map of where Syria was. Because what happens in this country, and is we have, a lot of times people lump everything together. You know what I mean? We know Canada, Mexico, we know Europe, Western Europe mainly, and then there's everything else, right?
Yeah.
So, and they don't understand
the global south.
Right. Absolutely. And they don't understand the diversity of the cultures, of the languages, of the religions, of the just all the different intricacies of what's going on, but also where things lie.
Right.
Like you said, geographically, where things lie affects lots of things.
Yeah. Syria is very strategically, it's placed in a very strategic way, because you have Turkey, and then you have Russia, and then you have all of the Gulf states, and then and then the West and Europe. So when everything happened in Syria, and it was a whole mess, everyone came in. Everyone came in, and everyone tried to get their hands in because there was a lot of interest. There's things for people to take. There's land. There's resources. There's a lot for everyone. So the amount of intel that came into our country from every single country in the world is crazy. But when there's conflict, and when there's war, and when there's people killing each other, it leaves a vacuum for the mess to continue taking place. So that's what happened. And I don't blame people for not. The thing is, what I like to do, or what helps me sleep at night better, is when there's cause and there's effect. So the effect of people not knowing where Syria is on the map is the cause of that is the system of how things are, and how the media is, and how the narrative is, and how policy is. So all these things come, and then the way that the average American thinks is a product of how all of this came to be, and how the history is, and how everything brought us to where we are today. So I don't blame them for not knowing, but also when you know, then that's your duty.
Right.
And for you to do what you can on your part, basically.
Well, there's these. There are a lot of things about America that aren't the best. I still think the opportunities here are better than they are pretty much anywhere else.
Anywhere else, yes.
But we have ingrained in us. There's systemic racism ingrained in us, and there's this systemic bias against peoples of a certain part of the world that's been ingrained in us, regardless of who those people are, regardless of what they do, because they live in a certain part of the world. We lump them all together, and that's absolutely wrong. It's inhumane. It goes against everything that are inside of us as human beings from the time we come into this world.
Exactly.
And again, it's apathy is what it is. It's not, sometimes it's like I said, it's not people that are overtly being hateful or dismissing stuff. It's just apathy. And again, this is exactly the power that you're having right now, and this is why what you're doing is so important.
Thank you. When I first moved here to the U.S., and I came here from Saudi Arabia, and so when I came in, and the teacher and the students would be asking me and whatever, and all they knew about the Middle East was Dubai.
Mhm.
And I was like, well, I'm Syrian, but I lived in Saudi, so they have no idea what any of this is. But yeah, like it's like Dubai. And then someone asked me like, oh, like did you guys have camels and goats? I'm like, well, actually, the city I lived in is very much more, urban than this suburban
Right.
rural town that I lived in Jersey. But this is a problem that the West, I think, has, is lumping everything into one. Syria is not Iraq. Syria is not Afghanistan. Syria is not, so it's very separate. Not all the conflicts are the same. Not, and U.S. intervention in some of these problems is not the same. So when right now we're working with some people to, sanction the regime or work against the Assad regime, this is not us saying that like the U.S. has to intervene and take over and whatever. It's because there's no other option for us to do. There's no other way for us to go about this. We need people like the American people to recognize the oppression and to recognize the pain and to do something to stop it, because the U.S. is the most powerful country in the world. And when it wants something to stop, it can actually stop it like this. So that's why we're forced to, we have to do this work. And that's why we do it in D.C., because D.C. is the decision-making mecca of the whole entire world. And that's where you go when you want to influence change and change the reality on the ground.
Yeah. I, um, I'm very much an advocate for lots of groups that I feel like are unrepresented, that are marginalized, that are blocked out and left out in this world, And I had an incident at one time that I met somebody that was in a powerful position, and I was advocating for a group. And the person, I was sitting across the desk from him, and the person sat back in their chair and says, well, that's not my responsibility. And I leaned over the desk and I said, sir, if I'm in the woods walking and I see a child in a pond drowning, I don't say that's not my child. Right now, Syria is the child drowning, and you don't say that's not my child. They're begging for a life preserver, a life raft. They're begging for something. And for people to sit back and go, well, that's their issue. It's too complicated. Yes. That's, again, is not how we are brought into this world. That's not how we're supposed to be with each other.
That's not how human nature is. That's not, even if you see someone that doesn't look like you, that doesn't dress like you, we are all human at the end of the day. So whether you understand that or not, I don't do this because I'm Syrian. My ethnic wise, I'm Circassian. I don't know if you know what that is. But I don't have Syrian blood in me. I do this because I myself saw the pain and saw the oppression, just like my American colleagues in the organization I work at recognize, is that when you see this and when you understand it and when you recognize it, compared to what your life is, to the privileges that you have, you don't say that that's not my baby. You don't say that that's not my problem. You don't say that that's not mine. Because I don't do this because I'm Syrian. I do this because I'm human. And it's not a complicated issue. It's a humanitarian crisis. And if you're human and you see the atrocities take place, and you don't recognize that, and if you see the pictures and the torture and the systemic dictatorship that took place over the past 50 years in our country, and you don't recognize that as a problem, then that is something wrong with you as a human that doesn't recognize other humans' pain. And that's not right. We have better morals and values, and we were taught better by our parents and our communities and our societies. Of course, I'd help the homeless down the street from me here in the U.S., but I'd also recognize that as well as recognize the pain over there, because this is a human and that is a human as well. Just because he's down the street from me doesn't mean that it's more relevant or more than the guy that's lost everything over and over and over again, and been through chemical attacks and bombardment and displacement and earthquake and losing his kids and torture. So that is the humanity in us, and we need to rely more on our humanity. and how that influences how we feel every day.
Yeah, and again, that's why it's so important that you're doing this, because it brings a personal connection to people. Because again, out of sight, out of mind kind of thing, right? We don't see it, and all of a sudden somebody's standing in front of you going, "This is real. I've experienced this. I've seen this. I know people that's going through this," and they connect with you, even just for a moment. All of a sudden, they're like, "Oh, okay." They start reflecting, right? And again, it's human nature. People that somebody that, for example, is the most anti whatever, whether it's gender identity, whether it's race, whether it's religion, whatever it is. But if that person, and there's a house burning, and they're like, there's kids in a house, people run in, they don't stop and go, what religion are they? You know what I'm saying? What color are they? Because our human instinct is to jump in and save, especially adults when it comes to children. And again, there was this thing where it was, at first it was the refugee, everybody trying to save themselves and get out, right? And that's what was shown on television. But what's not been shown, and what you're bringing to light, is the fact that, guess what? There's a problem on the ground in Syria.
For these people to leave.
For these, yes. So that there are so much more issues than just, the ones that are fleeing, going to different parts of the world and trying to get asylum. There are people there who are either trying to leave, or trying to change what's going on in the country. Because again, they're the victims. They're the victims. So
again, cause and effect. Effect is people seeking refuge. Cause is the pain inflicted on them by the regime and its allies. So people don't want to leave to a country they don't understand the language in. They have to bust their ass working every day and learning a new language and learning a new culture. People don't want to leave their homes. Every single Syrian I know that has left their home and that's fled their country, that is the last thing that they wanted to do. But when I, as a father, see my kids starving to death, I will do anything to feed my child. And I'm not a parent yet, but I'm sure that when I get to that point and I see any pain inflicted on my child, the same way that my father has felt when sending us off to get asylum in America or then Canada, that they are forced to do that because they don't have any other option. Their kids are getting bombed. They are in danger. I'm not going to sit here and play the big dog. And people stayed. People stayed until the very last minute that they could, until the bombardment reached their doorstep, until the besiegement, until the starvation became so bad. People started eating grass. People started eating cats. This happened in Homs, this happened in Aleppo, this happened in Ghouta, this happened in Yarmouk camp. You can look all of this up. You can see how there's a movie called Forsama, Forsama. This movie talks about the besiegement of Aleppo under Russian bombardment, under Assad regime bombardment, and how they literally were there her husband is a doctor and she's documenting the war. And her daughter is named Sema. Sema, which translates to the sky. So the whole time, during their time in Aleppo, they're from there, they would look up to the sky and just see if there's airplanes dropping bombs or not. So she named her baby Sema, that was born during the war. So it's like, I really, really don't blame the people for leaving, because I'm sure that they had no other option. And I'm sure that they stayed till the very last minute. A lot of the narrative of some of these neighboring countries to Syria that hate Syrians and, the refugee problem is so bad, etc., is that why didn't you stay and fight for your land and fight for your people? It's like, yes, we stayed. Yes, we tried. But how are we going to stay with sarin gas falling on top of our heads? It's like, it's going to get to a point where we can't anymore. And a million people lost, so people stayed and people died and people were martyred. But how long are you going to stay, and how long are you going to live under this every single day until you lose your whole family? You've lost multiple members of your family, but how many more are you going to lose?
Well, there's this, again, we get used to certain things And there's this grandiose idea because of, and we're taught from a young age of, the path that, America had from American Revolution on, and talk about the French Revolution and this, that, and the other. But again, this is not easy things. You just don't pull a regime change, a revolution, an overturning of a bully, of a dictator, of a thug, just pull it out of the sky. There were things that had to line up for these things to happen, and the vast thing that happened was we got help from other countries. We got help from France to fight the British to have our revolution. And all Syria is asking is saying, hey, can we get a little bit of that help that y'all got? Can y'all pay that forward a little bit? Because we're drowning here. We're in trouble, and we've got it coming from all sides. And all we're asking is, again, please give us a little normalcy. We want some normalcy. Like you said, nobody wants to leave their homeland. When parents walk from Central America through no telling what, with little kids on their back and pushing them all the way to the southern border of Mexico. Do you think they do that because it's fun and games?
There's no other option.
They do it because they love their children and their family, and they would go to the ends of the earth for them. And it's the same thing in Syria. So again, this group of people that you're speaking with and tapping into, this generation, their empathy, their accepting of others that are unlike themselves, and their ability. I always talk about, a lot of times people refuse to see beyond the end of their own nose. And this generation doesn't, right? So all we've got to do is rally the troops, because the troops are sitting around waiting, right? They're waiting for orders. So that's exactly the most important thing that you're doing right now, is getting this word out and getting them going and showing them these things. And I hope that gives you strength every day knowing that. And I understand it's hard.
Yeah, it's not easy. Because sometimes there are times where I'm like, oh my God, this is exhausting. Oh my God, how do people do this for so long? Because I've only been at this for like 2-3 years. I did go to the protests when I was 11, and when everything started with my dad, and we did help with humanitarian aid and assistance and that kind of thing. But I never got as politically involved or as activism involved as I have been the last 2 years, 3 years. Sometimes it's like, is it even worth it? Like, nothing is changing. Like, what's the hope? But then when we go on the ground and when we go into Syria and you see cities of refugee camps that literally fill up the whole city. So it's like you're on the mountain, you're driving down. On both sides of you, it's just cities of tents. And I have this recorded. I have these videos. So then it's like, if these people have lived in these camps for 13 years, and I have the audacity to not be hopeful, or to give up, or to be upset, I don't have that. That is a privilege that I should not have. And it's going to be worth it someday, even if it's not today, even if it's in 4 years, in 5, in 10 years. I don't know. Frankly, I don't care, as long as I know that I'm doing my part,
Right.
and I know that I'm teaching people to do their part, and to have even if it's a small, tiny impact. If I'm driving for that, then that's all that matters at the end of the day. That's what helps me sleep at night, is even if it's hard, and even if you get backlash from this and that, as long as you're doing the right thing, and as long as you're getting the word out, and as long as we have the resources, we have the tools, we just need to implement them over here, because we are very privileged to have everything that we have, and we should be very grateful to have all the things that we have. Yeah, but I'm so grateful to come here, and I was telling the classes that it's crazy because people in Syria know about Arkansas.
Yeah.
Which is so funny, because I didn't even know about Arkansas before joining SCTF. I knew nothing about Arkansas. So, the kids, they know about Arkansas, they know about all the aid that reaches them that Nat takes down in the suitcases. So we are very, very, very grateful for the grassroots community here in this city, that helps us and that helps us fundraise, that helps us, be a voice, that helps people on the ground. But yeah, and it's inspiring other universities. It's inspiring different communities all around the U.S. and outside of the U.S. I have people from Canada that reached out to me, and they're like, "Oh my God, like we want to do like a chapter." And same as in Michigan, they reached out as well. So this is inspiring other people, and is the right way.
Yeah. So what classes were you able to visit with today? Do you know?
So yesterday I went to broadcasting and media, and then media and society, and then today we had one Russian, what was it? Russian foreign policy class, one Supreme Court class, and one multicultural public affairs or public communications. But it was so cool because each class I can kind of alter it based on what they are learning and what they are interested in. And it was such a beautiful conversation. It wasn't even just me speaking. It was a conversation and questions and answers. And I really, really appreciated, some of the students that know a lot about Syria because of our work here already. Dr. Brown's class, that was fantastic. I went there and they all,
She's amazing.
She went to the class, to the events last semester. They know about Syria. They know about everything that takes place, and it's all thanks to Dr. Brown's work and how much of a community that she's built here for SCTF and for us to come and visit. But it was so cool to get to meet all the students, and some of them are my age,
Right.
which was cool.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's nice.
Well, another reason why coming to campus is a great resource is because there's very much of an international student body, right? So I know a lot of students that are from around the world, and again, there's a personalization that happens. Oh, I know this person, they're from Korea. I know this person, they're from Syria. I know this person who's from Nigeria. I know this person. Again, there's this personal thing. We hang out, we communicate. They're just like me. They like the same things. They're a human being. So again, this is why this generation is more empathetic. This is why he's more open. Change. Yeah, is more open to change, more fluid as far as they don't have the walls set up. The cynicism and the bitterness of the world that's been built. Yeah, of old generations. So. Again, this is the saying is strike where the iron is hot. This is the iron's hot right now. So, but what I was going to say to you was whenever I do my interviews live on the air, before I sign off, I always tell everybody that to go out there in the world and make a positive change, and everything you do it with all of your heart. And that's exactly what you're doing. You're doing it with all of your heart.
Thank you.
So, and this interview series and this show is called Women Who Rock, and I showed you the little logo.
Amazing.
And you are the pure definition of woman who rocks, okay?
That means so much.
So, okay, and you inspire me, you give me strength.
Thank you.
And I love so much talking to you.
Thank you.
I know you're tired, probably.
No. This has been so cool, and just being here and meeting people like you, meeting people that want to listen. That means so much. You have no idea how much that means. And I think what's important and what I would want people to take away from this is you need to find what you're passionate about, whatever that is. Because if we continue to have jobs that we don't enjoy, if we continue to do things that we don't enjoy, even if they make us money, it's not fun.
Right.
It's annoying, and it's repetitive, and it's painful, and it's hurtful. So find whatever it is that you're passionate about. If it's painting, if it's marketing, if it's accounting, whatever it is, as long as you have that passion And as long as you know that your values and your morals and what you can be doing, you're doing and helping and influencing, then that's all that matters.
Right.
And I hope that everyone learned something from us being here. And we continue to grow this community. We continue to nourish it and reach more Syrians that need that help. Lifeline.
So after you leave here, where's next on your agenda?
So we're going to DC.
Okay.
And we have, so March 15th is the anniversary of the Syrian Revolution.
Okay.
March 15th of 2011 was the day that we went out with flowers protesting. So every year we commemorate this day, and we have an event in DC about the revolution. We talk about it, we speak about it, we bring it back up to the table of policymakers, etc. So going to DC now, and then heading back to school, because I am a student and I am missing a lot of classes to be here and to do this. But it's fine because my university understands, and I can send them this and they can listen to it. Right,
yeah, absolutely. Thank you for your sacrifice.
Thank you.
Because believe me, I know what it's like to have to miss school and have to make up those things. But I understand the traveling and meeting people and speaking and everything. And I appreciate you so much.
Of course. No, this is amazing, and I'm so grateful to do it. Thank you.
Just one little parting thing is, where is the event going to be taking place in D.C.? Do you know?
In Congress.
In Congress.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's going to be an actual thing in Congress that they're going to do. Okay. Come
yeah,
on.
we have a room booked.
Gotcha.
Different policymakers are coming. Different Syrians are coming.
Gotcha.
Different people are going to be talking about certain things. We might have the gravedigger, the bulldozer driver, come in and say their key testimony in front of everyone. And these guys are people that were eyewitnesses to the Assad regime's war crimes in Syria. They were a part of it, actually. They were forced to be a part of it. So, yeah, different testimonies, different policymakers that work on the Syria caucus, that work on Syria, the Syria case, are going to be there and are going to listen to us and what we have to say to bring it back up to the table.
Now, is there a website or anything that y'all that you want somebody to follow, the listeners to follow?
Yes. So this is so cool because when I was in the classes, we were leaving the at of our pages. So, and that's what people, when they ask us what can we do, honestly, first off is just for you to know. So you can follow our pages and you can stay up to date with the news, with the updates, with our humanitarian programs, the cute kids, etc. So our @ on Instagram and Twitter is Syrian ETF. So SYRIAN ETF. And that's available on that. And if you want to follow me as well, I make videos here and there about what happens in Syria and how for you to, I package them into little small videos that explain some things and explain what's taking place on the ground. And my @ is just my name, Celine, CELINE KASEM. And yeah, it's cool for you to stay in the know and for you to keep up with what's going on. Because I think social media is a great place for us to be bringing things to people's awareness. And it's very easy. It's at the tip of your fingers to keep up and to make sure that you are still in the know.
Right, and it gives you power.
It gives power to the people.
Absolutely,
themselves.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
I
appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Big Bear Joe radio show. And a very special thank you to this week's Women Who Rock interview guest, Miss Celine Kassem. I really encourage you to follow her on social media, follow the website that she talked about at the end of our interview. Please go out there and educate yourself. Please make yourself aware. Please pass it on to others about this crisis that's been going on in Syria, the atrocities that are going on. It's been going on for 13 years. And whatever you do every day, please do just like Miss Kassem is doing and be a positive influence in this world. And also do what she is doing and do it with all of your heart. I appreciate all of you. And tune in next week for another episode. Thank you.
1, 2, 3, woo! The previous recording is the sole property of the Bear Meets World Media Group, LLC. All publishing and distribution rights belong to the Bear Meets World Media Group, LLC, and its subsidiaries, unless otherwise expressly written by the Bear Meets World Media Group president or by its legal representation.